it's day 3 of the Democratic National Convention that's continuing in Chicago, with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz likely to accept the nomination for vice president today. Wednesday's agenda has highlighted reproductive highlights and also include addresses from the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the former President Bill Clinton. However, the former U.S. President has accused Trump of putting his interests above the nation. He says that the November election would be we the people versus me, myself, and I.
Governor. And by all accounts, he was a crack shot who had the courage among his rural constituents to say we do not need these assault weapons available to people who can kill our kids in school. So, armed with a reversed decision, Kamala Harris confronts an interesting dilemma. We're going to walk out of here feeling pretty good, I think. We've got energy, we are happy, we feel like a load's off our shoulders. And we know we're just being asked to fight the same fight that the forces of progress have had to fight for 250 years. In the face of stiff and often violent opposition, we have to find a way to go forward together, where we the people make our union more perfect. So that's a good thing. How could we possibly lose? Kamala Harris has fought for kids her whole life that were left out and left behind. She's taken on gangs trafficking across the border. She's fought to... So, armed with a reversed decision, Kamala Harris confronts an interesting dilemma. We're going to walk out of here feeling pretty good, I think. We've got energy, we are happy, we feel like a load's off our shoulders. And we know we're just being asked to fight the same fight that the forces of progress have had to fight for 250 years. In the face of stiff and often violent opposition, we have to find a way to go forward together, where we the people make our union more perfect. So that's a good thing. How could we possibly lose? Kamala Harris has fought for kids her whole life that were left out and left behind. She's taken on gangs trafficking across the border. She's fought to...
So that was the page. We have Patsy joining us live on the broadcast. She's joining us from Chicago. Thank you for joining us, Patsy. Bill Clinton has spoken just a short while ago. How was he received and what was his speech for Kamala Harris?
Well, definitely Bill Clinton playing the role of what other Democratic presidents played in this convention. Barack Obama was here yesterday. Their role is basically, number one, to showcase support for Kamala Harris. Number two, to thank Joe Biden for stepping aside and re-energizing this campaign for Democrats. And number three, of course, attacking Donald Trump. Those are the kinds of roles the former presidents have in this convention. And this is something that Democrats want to highlight, the sense of continuity, that former Democratic presidents are all here to support Kamala Harris, including Jason Carter, the grandson of Jimmy Carter, who is now, of course, 99 years old and right now ill and unable to speak. But this is a contrast to what the Republicans had in their national convention last month, where no former Republican presidents came to speak in support of Donald Trump. So this is a key thing, a key theme, continuity and unity that Democrats want to highlight in this convention.
Okay, all right. And who else has spoken? Who else is in the lineup? We also saw Oprah Winfrey was there.
Yes, so right now, Senator Amy Klobuchar is speaking. She's one of the leading Democratic voice who's considered quite liberal, considered quite popular from Minnesota. And of course, this is where Governor Tim Walz, the home state of Governor Tim Walz, the vice presidential pick from Kamala Harris, who is scheduled to speak in just a few moments. This is Tim Walz's night. Tonight is the night where he can show to the American people who he is, because outside of his home state of Minnesota, not many people know who Tim Walz is. And this is his chance to highlight his record as a former teacher, as a former football coach, as somebody who served in the military. These are all key characteristics that Democrats hope can charm the rest of the country who may be a little bit reluctant to vote for a woman, especially a black woman. This is a key demographic that Democrats are trying to reach out with Tim Walz.
Tim Walz is somebody who calls himself a Midwestern dad, and this is a big contrast to what the Republicans have been saying, and that's something that the Democrats also want to do, show that in contrast to what the Republicans stand for versus what the Democrats stand for, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting theme in this year's election, this concept of masculinity. What is masculinity? What is a male? And what kind of male do we want? Because as you know, after the Me Too movement, there's really this narrative pushing back against this toxic masculinity concept that many Democrats say is apparent in the Make America Great movement under Donald Trump. It's apparent in, for example, the VP pick, Donald Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, who they say is not friendly to female causes. So this is, Tim Walz is a counter narrative to that. They say that Walz is somebody who is helpful to female causes, who is not afraid to support women, and who is not afraid of women in strong power, and who is not insecure in supporting those kinds of women, somebody who embraces his wife and his daughter, and of course now playing a supporting role to Vice President Kamala Harris. So it's a very interesting theme this election year.
All right, Patsy, thank you so much for joining us. We continue coming back to you for those live updates. But shifting our attention, our people in large numbers also participated in the India Day parade held in New York. A carnival float featuring Ram Mandir was also part of the parade. The India Day parade in New York has been taking place every year for over 4 decades to mark the celebration of India's independence. The 4-decade-old annual celebration in New York celebrates the 42nd annual India Day parade on the busy streets of New York.